Well, we're down to 3. I've managed to narrow my brands down to pretty much Canon. Um, I said to, I decided to take another look at a third model. I cooked up a spreadsheet on all 3 of them, going over the details that I felt were important. So without further ado, I'm going to go over it. This will have to be kind of quick, and I really won't have the opportunity to explain much of this because this is my second take on this. The first ran over by 30 seconds. And with iMovie, it won't allow you to upload a movie if it's even 1 second over the 10-minute limit, so I'm not about to do that. The cameras are the Canon SX110, the SD880, and the SX110IS. Now there's a major difference between the 110 and the 10. Excuse me. And you will see this when we get to it. Camera series. Canon SX110 is a PowerShot. SD880 is a Digital Elph. SX10 is a PowerShot. Camera type. SX110 is a super zoom. SD880 is a point and shoot. And the SX10IS is a super zoom. Now all 3 of these are point and shoots, but the super zoom is pretty much a class within, it's a class of point and shoot, whereas with the SD880 it's just a general point and shoot. Macintosh OS X ready, all 3 of them are Mac OS X ready. Form factor, the SX110 is compact, the 880 is ultra compact. Now the 10 is a DSLR style. Now what that means is if you've ever seen a DSLR camera, this looks very similar to that, except it's a little bit more compact and somewhat lighter. And also, if you've ever seen any of the 35mm, for those of you who are old enough to remember any of the older 35mm film cameras, it's pretty much the exact same style as that. Some of the old Kodaks had the same styling. Width, height, and depth. This is all in inches. The 110, the SX110, is 4.35 by 2.77 by 1.8 inches. The 880IS, the SD 880, is 3.69 by 2.04 by 0.9 inches. And the SX10IS is 4.88 by 3.48 by 3.4 inches, so you can see a definite difference there. You also notice a difference in the weight. Weight for the SX110 is 8.64 ounces, for the SD880 is 5.47 ounces, and for the SX10 is 19.85 ounces. So it's usable, but it's certainly a lot heavier than all of these. Megapixels on the SX110 it's 9.1, and for the other 2 models, the SD880 and the SX10IS, it is 10 megapixels. Manual control on the SD880 and the SX110, you get some, and the SX10IS you get full. Essentially, a super zoom is essentially a bridge camera, and the bridge camera is supposed to be a camera right in between a point and shoot and a DSLR. So it's basically your transfer bridge over to DSLR world. Zoom range: 10x optical on the SX110, 4x on the SD880, and 20x optical zoom, 20 times optical zoom. That's huge. On the SX10IS. All 3 units have optical image stabilization. Image processing: the SX110 has the Canon Digic 3, and the other 2, the SD880 and the Canon and the SX10IS, both have the Canon Digic 4. Now, what does that give you? All 3 units have face detection, but the face detection, self-timer, the servo autofocus, and the intelligent contrast, which you can read about those on Canon's website, those only belong to the SD880 and the SX10. The SX110IS does not have this. Now, one thing I will say is that I thought was really cool: the face detection self-timer. You no longer have to worry about rushing into a shot to get in there. You can take your time, settle down when you're ready. Once you're settled, both the SD880 and the SX10IS have the ability to wait for you to settle down, and once you're settled, they wait 2 seconds and they automatically take the picture, so it's very nice. Intelligent contrast on the 880 and on the 880 and the SX10IS essentially make it so that it's not too bright or too dark, so that's really nice. which is good if you're shooting pictures in the evening. Display size, 3.0 inches for the SX110 and the SD880, 2.7 inches for the SX10IS. Now, there's a reason for that. Rotate for self-portraits. This is only available on the SX10IS. Now, what does that mean? That means that you can pull out the screen and you can rotate it 180 degrees, and that will allow you to have self-portraits for video recordings. It's similar to the SX10IS is very similar in style and features to the Nikon 8800 that I showed you before. Let's see. So the SX10 also has a viewfinder, which is electronic. The SX110 and the 880SD do not have these. All three cameras have a picture resolution of approximately 3,000 by 2,000 pixels. All three have 640 by 480 at 30 frames per second maximum video resolution. Video sound output. This is interesting because the 110 and the 880 have mono sound, but the SX10IS has stereo microphones located on the front, so you get stereo sound out of that one. Battery type. The SX110 and the SX10 both take AA alkaline or nickel metal hydrides. The SD880 is lithium ion. Shots per charge, 220 for the alkaline, 350 for the nickel metal hydride on the 110, 310 shots on the 880, and 340 shots or 600 shots AA and IMH respectively on the SX10IS. Minutes per charge, you get for video, you get 300 minutes or 480 on the 110, 420 minutes on the 880, and 720 or 840 minutes on the SX10IS. Notes: for the 110 we have short alkaline battery life, for the 880 we have a short zoom, and for the SX10IS it's just big and bulky. Colors: black and silver on the 110, gold and silver on the 880, and black on the 10IS. Price: 110 $250, 880IS $300, and $400 for the Canon SX10IS. Now the good news is I've got about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left before the time runs out, so I apologize if I ran out of these. If you'd like to take a look at any of these three models for yourself, just head on over to Canon's website. But these are basically the three I'm trying to choose on. I love the SX10 for all of its features, and I've actually picked it up, and it feels lighter than it looks on paper. But I'm a little bit edgy about that $400 price tag, because again, I didn't want to go over $300 unless there was really something that stood out. And about this camera, there are actually quite a few things that stand out. The stereo speakers, for one. And just over, like the 20x zoom, that definitely stands out. There's no camera on the market with a 20x zoom. This thing is like, whoa. You know, for those of you who have seen my previous video, Battle of the Cannons, I wanted to try and get a picture of the raft. Well, with the 20x zoom, I could go beyond the raft. I could probably go all the way across the lake from the mainland. Understand that I'm exaggerating, but hey, there's a possibility. But yeah, I'm basically trying to decide, and it's really tough. You know, on the one hand, you get a nice compact with a mega zoom with poor battery life. In the middle, you get a camera that has a poor zoom but great everything else. And then on the third side, you get a camera that is probably overall lighter and smaller than the Nikon, but still the same dimensions all around. Overall, great performance, great battery life, but we have a high price. So I am in between a rock and a hard place. If anybody out there has any of these cameras, feel free to raise your hand. And for the person who's been suggesting the FS100 video camcorder, I'd like to know how the stills are on that. If they're acceptable, then I might consider that, but otherwise forget it. Because like I said, I'm looking into photography as a hobby, and I'd like to be able to have some control of my pictures. So really the SX10 has a lot of that, so does the 110. But I'm just about out of time. Thank you everybody for your help. Keep it coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. All comments are welcome, and have a nice evening. All negatives will be deleted. All negatives and non-subject matter will be deleted.